up, everybody? My name is Shannon, and I am still waiting for my Seder, and today we are talking about A Wrinkle in Time by Madeline L'Engle. I have not read this book since 6th grade, and I remember my mom picked this up for me, and she's like, I think you're gonna like this one. This main character sounds a lot like you, and I did. I found myself a lot in this book. I really enjoyed it, and I think this might be where my reading obsession started to get going. I know that long ago, I was not a reader. I was a terrible speller. It took me ages and ages to read things. I think I was like a tad dyslexic, all of this kind of stuff. I just could not get into it, and it bothered me. I didn't like reading at all, but I was obsessed with stories, and I eventually found some that I was interested in. And when I read this, I was very excited about it. I did a book report on it, and I really, really loved it. And now that I know that the movie's coming out and I've seen the trailer, I thought it was time that I finally read this series again. And I remember these books very differently from the experience that I just had reading this one, and I think it has to do with I am a very different reader than I used to be. But for those of you who don't know, A Wrinkle in Time is a sci-fi-esque book. You're basically whisked off on this magical journey through time and space to save Meg and Charles Wallace's father from this impending black thing that is trying to suck the life out of just everything. It's just absolutely horrifying, and it's consuming everyone and everything we love. We go to all of these different planets, we meet all of these different beings, these alien type things. There are these three women, Mrs. Watson, Mrs. Who, Mrs. Witch, who seem to kind of know all, and there's something very mysterious going on about them, but it's all rooted in this story of this girl being different from everybody else and learning that what makes her different and what makes her stand out from society is what makes her great. Her greatest faults are her greatest strengths, and I really loved seeing that throughout the book. We see that with Meg, we see that with Calvin, who kind of comes along for the ride, and we also see that with her little brother, Charles Wallace, who is a very odd 5-year-old who talks in complete sentences. He is extremely intelligent, and he might be able to read people's minds. I'm not entirely sure. It's been a long time since I've read these books, so I don't actually remember, but it's a very, very crazy book, and I remember when I first read them, I remembered them more as a fantasy, but they are definitely very sci-fi because there's this thing called the Tesseract, and they're moving through the 5th dimension and all that crazy kind of fun stuff. But the fault that I find with this book is that it was published in the 60s. There is a huge theme in this book of communism and the Red Scare, and I think they hit that nail over the head just a little bit too hard. It got to the point where I was like, okay, we get it. Communism is bad. It was very on the nose, and as the story went on, I do feel like Meg's journey gets a little bit lost. I feel like once our, 3 main witches are gone, then suddenly Meg is our only female voice, and she's being drowned out by all of these male voices. They do a lot of the talking for her, and that did kind of bother me. It did kind of get to me. I did find that I did not enjoy it as much as I remembered liking it, and I'm only giving it a C+, and that has a lot to do with the fact that the story just didn't really grab me. I feel like it's doing a lot of telling. There is a lot of showing that goes on, but what they're showing you, to me, doesn't really have to do with what I felt the story was about or what I felt the story should have been about, which was this journey on discovering, that your faults are your strengths and that being different is okay, and you can really use that to your advantage. And I feel like there was a lot of telling when we got to there. There was a lot of just oh, hush now, you will answer your questions later, just don't worry about it, that kind of thing. That kind of got to me. I feel like the characters are a little flat, a little bit one-dimensional, but again, I think that is just unfortunately what happens when you have a book that was written during the Red Scare. I do think if I reread 1984, I would probably also have a lot of the same critiques that go along with that, but regardless, as far as the movie is concerned, after seeing that amazing trailer, I think that if the movie really modernizes the themes in this book and take it to a new level, we are going to have an amazing new sci-fi movie on our hands. As long as they take it out of this oppressive 60s environment and move it into the modern era, I think we have a really, really awesome movie, and I am very, very excited to see it. Would I recommend this book? I don't know. I mean, if you want to read it, I would say read it, but if you saw the trailer for the movie and you're excited about it, then really, that's all you need to know. You don't really have to read this book, I think, to enjoy the movie, because what I'm hoping, and I never say this, is that the movie will have similar beats to the book, but be almost completely different, because that is just, we need a new, modern, revamped story. So if you want to read the book before you see the movie, by all means, go ahead, but you totally don't have to. I do think that it's an okay book. I definitely think as far as middle grade books go, it's not as blow you away amazing as, like, The Night Gardener, which I talked about last week, or any of that kind of stuff, but it is still a cute, enjoyable read, and it did definitely get a lot of nostalgia points because it made me remember a lot of the things from my childhood. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, be sure to hit that like button down below, and don't forget to subscribe so you can talk books with me every Monday. That is everything got for you today, guys. I will see you next time. Bye!